Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Tonight's dinner is going to be steak and onions, Spanish way. These are the ingredients that I am using, and I do have two sofritos here. One is almost empty, so that's why I just pulled it out. First step we're going to do is to do our mise en place, which is just to get everything cut up and seasoned up, so that way we can move on and start the cooking process. My daughter's giving me my garbage bowl because it's just so much easier to have everything these how I do it is have a bowl or something ready so you could just throw your garbage or whatever in it. So just slicing the onions in slices, nothing fancy. You can do cubes, however you want to do your onion. That's up to you, but I just slices. And moving on to the steak now. This one took a little bit longer, but you can actually leave the steak whole. That's up to you. You can make it in chunks or slices, and I did slices just for it to cook a little bit quicker. But you don't have to do that. This is the way I did it. And some of these pieces were kind of big, so I then sliced it in half as well. And I'm just going to put it into a container, and then we can marinate it in this container, which will need to marinate for at least 1 to 2 hours. Overnight is always best for flavors, but I didn't have that time, so we just did it for an hour and a half, I think it was, that we did. And it wasn't difficult to slice the meat, but yeah, like I said, you could slice it, dice it, or don't do no cutting at all and just have whole steak. And you don't have to use cube steak. You can use whatever steak you have and just use the seasonings that are in this recipe. Easy enough to do, and it's actually done within maybe 45 minutes total. So once we get done cutting up all the steak, now we're going to start with the marinating process. And sorry that I'm off frame. I didn't realize that. Typical seasonings: garlic powder, onion powder. Season with your heart. I had to take the lid off that one because it just wasn't coming out. And I also am going to use some adobo, some sazon comprete. Everything will be on my website, ruthiecancook.com, with all the ingredients and steps that I did to make this dish. And you could, like I said, season with your heart. I'm probably using maybe 1 to 2 teaspoons each of seasoning, but you can add more or less. That's up to you. I'm going to also put in some sofrito. There's that one container. Had to finish that up, and then I put in a good tablespoon and a half maybe of sofrito. I love the way sofrito seasons my food, so I always put in a little bit extra of that. I have 2 packs of sazon there, but I only end up using one because I thought one was enough to do. But again, you can use two if you like, but I thought one was good enough. Then we're going to add in some vinegar, white regular vinegar. I'm using about 2 tablespoons for this meat. You don't want to overdo it because the vinegar is going to break your meat down and help tenderize it more than what it is. And also, too, you don't want a bit too strong of a vinegar flavor in your food. So I only did 2 tablespoons. I've seen people do more than that, but I'm doing 2 tablespoons and it worked out just fine. Make sure you mix this very well. Make all the get all the seasonings covered on the meat. So it took me a few minutes. I wanted to make sure I massaged all that seasoning in, and I used the glove for it because the sazon will stay in your hands red. So just didn't want that to occur today. Then I'm just going to throw in the onions, and as I'm doing that, I'm also going to break them up a little bit to make sure that they're, singled and they're not all clumped together and taken apart. So it just make it easier when it's cooking time to have that part ready. And then once I get done doing this, just gonna put the lid on and clean up a little bit, and then put this in the fridge until it's time to cook dinner. So in a large enough pan, this is my one of my larger pans. I put maybe a tablespoon of oil, not too much because I didn't want to have too much oil in the dish. And then I'm just going to dump it all in as you see. And I'm going to sear the meat until it starts to brown, which takes maybe 15-20 minutes, depending on how high. I think I have mine on a medium, and medium heat, and it took 15-20 minutes. I didn't clock that part, but yeah, it was quick and fast. And then once we get this cooking, then we'll throw a lid on it. I already have, you see my rice pot there. I already have my rice and beans on. So once this is ready, then everything will be ready at the same time. So everything is nicely cooked up now. We're gonna put the lid on, and we're gonna leave the lid on for maybe 30 minutes. The onions did dissolve. They got very soft. So as you see here, you can barely see the onions. So maybe halfway through the cooking process, put the onions in at that point instead of doing it at the beginning. But there was a very nice flavor from the onions cooked like this. And dinner was done. This is the plate, and it was fantastic. Haven't had this in years, but it came out wonderful. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you the next one.